Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday night. It is the final word on the weekend's action. It is extra time. Sorry, slightly late getting started. I was just chatting to the boys backstage about the weekend, and we've got so much to talk about tonight. So thank you for joining us live on YouTube or across X or Facebook. Obviously, you can join in the chat. We've already got well over 100 of you joining live as well. If you want to get involved in and phone in yourself, you can do, or send in a video, and we'll put that up on the screen. We're live with you for about the next 90 minutes. We're going to be talking about the game, all the incidents. We're going to be looking at the job that Vitor Pereira has done. We are going to be talking about the signings, the contract extensions of Mosquera as Gomes. And what does that mean for Wolves' intent going forward and everything in between? And we've also got Room 101 is back. And this week, we will be asking our fans and everyone that's coming on, and eventually you guys in the chat, which will be, what football game from history would you like to put into Room 101? And then we'll have a short Q&A at the end. So thank you ever so much for joining us. I am joined live, and we're going to have some more phone-ins as well, but I'm joined tonight by the voice of reason himself. It is Jack. How's it going, Jack?
Not too bad, Dave. How are you?
Mate, I'm feeling, in the words of James Brown, I'm feeling good. Na. How about you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's kind of, you don't kind of want to jinx anything, do you? But it feels like yesterday kind of made it certain, didn't it, a little bit to an extent. I think even the Ipswich manager after the game kind of said, yeah, we're going to struggle from this point to stay up. So that kind of feels like, it kind of a big nail in their coffin.
I know, and I put the headline on this, on the thing, we are staying up and everything like that. It feels that way. Obviously, mathematically, it's not certain. Yeah. We have effectively relegated Southampton because they went 2-1 down. They lost 2-1, so Southampton are relegated. We're going to be covering all of that. My personal thing is now I cannot see Ipswich or Leicester winning 5 games in the 7 matches that have left when they've won 3 or 4 all season. And us collapsing to such a point. I think if we didn't win another game, personally, I think we'd still stop up. But I think from what Vitor Pereira was saying, his full intention is to finish the season strong and keep that momentum going, I think. Yeah. We're also going to be joined tonight by Jogger Josh. He's here. You've been jogging around the place, haven't you? You've done a few.
I have, round Stafford. Was it last week before? Yeah, week before last. So half marathon 1 done for the year. Number 2 pending in May. So
which one in May are you doing?
Birmingham.
You're doing the Brum one as well, are you? Fantastic. And you were there yesterday as well, mate?
I was indeed, enjoying it in the sun.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And we've got so much to talk about from yesterday and the weekend as well. And I'm also delighted to have join us all the way from Norway. You recognise him often on the International Fan. He often has, he hasn't had it out as often as he would have liked, but it's been out recently. And that's Chris from Norway, and he's been getting the winning tankard has been out.
He has been out, not as you said, Dave, not as often as I would like. But yesterday was the winning champagne glass, because as we'll go on to discuss, it's done now. So I celebrate.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I mean, mathematically, no. But it is. Now, you were watching it from prison, wasn't you?
I wasn't. I should really, describe that. I work in Norway's biggest maximum security prison, and I was watching the game there. Yeah.
Fantastic, mate. We were laughing about that before the thing. You had the game on, so that a few celebrations there. Another roller coaster of a game.
As usual.
It wouldn't be right if it wasn't that. I mean, we've got a few people that are in the chat here saying hello to you all you guys as well, which is fantastic. And guys, listen, we're now up to nearly 300 of you watching live, which is fantastic. I know you know, loads of you more will watch it back on Catch Up and on the podcast and all of that. But let us know where you're watching it from and who within the world. Josh was asked a question recently in the chat about how fast did he did the marathon. He's just put that up in the chat. 1 hour and 45 minutes and 30 seconds. So a half personal best for you. Need to find 30 seconds for the Brum one in May. I hope you will get that. Before we get stuck into everything, I do need to say, as always, a massive big thanks to the folks at Creation Wolf, local Wolverhampton company. They power tonight's show. They will deliver the industry's latest and most advanced digital solutions. So if you've got a company or a brand, they will make sure your online presence and digital capabilities go to the next level. The link's in the description below. It's creationwolf.com. The link to get on the show is also in the link below. But let's get stuck in. I'm going to start with you, Josh, because you've been really, really busy. I want you to sort of like, you know, where we're at now, because you haven't been on for a while. How are you feeling as a Wolves fan? And obviously, any points you would want to highlight from the game yesterday and from the last few weeks, potentially.
The record we've been on the last few weeks, it's a definite change from when I was last on before Christmas. It's a lot better place to be in, I think. I don't come back and have to worry about seeing all the moanings on Twitter, and I used to got to the games and I was just like, right, leave the game and shut myself off. In the last few weeks, last few months, I've actually been able to walk away from the games, talking about the games, instead of having to just ignore what's gone on and just forget about it and then dread going the week after. These last few games have been enjoyable again. It's even against West Ham midweek. I said to my brother and my friend before the game, I said, we'll get something here tonight. And my brother was like, oh, we could do. My mate was like, nah. And to win 1-0 midweek and then go and come from behind on yesterday, it's a good feeling again. There's a bit of structure in the team. Discipline seems to be back as well. With team on players. I know there's some certain players that discipline has gone out the window, but I think as a collective, I think the discipline in the change room altogether is back.
Jack, you're nodding away there.
No, absolutely. I think we're going to touch on the job that Vitor's done later, so I'll kind of keep some of the thoughts for that. But I completely agree. I think it's been a tough season, and I think as much as we can celebrate the fact we are staying up, all that doesn't take away from the fact that we've underperformed for large chunks of the season, and that's from the top down right the way through to the players as well at times. And it's important that we kind of take what we've done in the last few weeks, and that becomes your standard now going forward into next year as well. I think we've picked up 10 points from the last 5 games in games where we're playing teams in and around us, and that's what you've got to do in this league, because there are some teams at the top that are very difficult to play against. But when you're playing with the greatest to respect, the Ipswiches, the Leicesters, the Evertons, the West Hams, pick up points, and you'll kind of find yourself where perhaps you'd more prefer to be. But yeah, I think we again yesterday, we all sort of felt it was going to be a challenge because of what it meant to Ipswich.
Well, they had a massive boost in the week.
Yeah.
Granted, they were playing a Bournemouth team that are having a dip in form and a lot of injuries, but they would have got that win. So I think all of us would agree going into the match, we knew that win would have given them a lift, and they would be going in thinking, if we can win this game and get it down to 6 and win, and I kind of was saying before the game, the first 15 minutes were going to be crucial, and they scored on the 16th minute. But after that, pretty much, I mean, we had a couple of chances before they scored. We were so dominant, really, considering we were away from home, and we looked like a team that we just had belief in us that we were still going to win the game. Yeah,
I think that was the key, wasn't it? I think the players kind of knew, and whether that's come from Vitor perhaps, but they knew that they're the better team there, and it's don't panic. They're going to come out strong. They're going to come out hard at you early on. If you can weather that storm, great. If they do nick a goal, we'll just keep the ball. We'll keep the ball. We'll keep moving the ball. And we did that. I mean, I think in fairness, I think going back to kind of what you were saying, we were sort of saying as we were sort of travelling down, worst case scenario, as we're leaving Portman Road at 5 o'clock, we're 6 points clear of the drop zone. Best case scenario is 12.
Yeah.
Now you'd have taken up both of those 4, 5, 6 weeks ago.
Oh God, yeah.
So I think we were kind of in a strong position regardless of yesterday. But what winning yesterday did was it just really, really opened that gap up. So instead of, like you say, 6 points where they can go back to back and make those 6 points, they've now got to go back to back to back to back, which is very, very difficult in the Premier League, particularly when
goal difference.
Yeah, and there's the goal difference as well. So it feels like a very significant result for us and for them.
Absolutely. And Chris, obviously, you were at work watching it, and I mean, I'm guessing, did you let yourself go a little bit when that goal went in?
Absolutely. Because, you know, the prison system is a bit different in Norway in that it's a bit of a more humane system, and the relationships we have with prisoners is more like that. We want them to see us as we actually are. So it's really well known. Everyone knows I'm a Wolves fan. It's a total icebreaker with many inmates. Everyone loves English football. Everyone wants to talk about it. They say I'm a Wolves fan. Everyone asks me about
Strand
Wolves.
Larsen, Norwegian, scored the winner.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you know, it's no doubt about it. He's very well liked over here, and they follow him closely, and they're so pleased because he's such a likable bloke and a good lad, and people see that. I think everyone wanted him to do well, and when he was having his difficult period, everyone was saying to me, "Look, he's good. Don't worry about it. He's good. He'll come good." And you know what? They were right.
Well, absolutely, they were right. Now, listen, we've already got a couple of callers on the line, which I'm going to get in. First of all, I'm going to play a video from Dinny over in Ireland, and then we're going to be joined by callers Scott and Jade for 5 minutes to give us their thoughts before we're going to start breaking the game down a little bit more. But first of all, here's Dinny from Ireland.
Hello Wolves fans, how you all doing? From a very sunny but very blustery and windy Cork. I hope it's not too windy for the video. Just commenting on the game there, the much needed win against Ipswich, relegation rivals. Like, we didn't think we'd be that close in the end, but the game was what it was. The better team won in the end. Really not surprised with the starting lineup. I think that team is picking itself at the moment, especially after the couple of wins that Wolves have had. One thing that concerned me was the bench. Didn't see too much talent on the bench, you know. There's a little bit of depth there, but not amazing. I will eat those words when I talk about Sarabia in a moment. I think the first half, Ipswich started the brighter team, but Wolves grew into it. You could just tell that there's a Premier League team and a Championship team in that game. Wolves grew into it. Big talking points from the first half is the Ipswich goal. Nice finish, nice goal, good on them. And the indirect free kick in the box. I think everybody has an opinion on it. Mine is that they maybe should have rolled it back 5 yards and smashed it into the roof, but sure, look, we're not professional footballers, so what the hell do we know? Then the second half, it just kind of progressed a similar way. I feel, to be honest, that there was always going to be Wolves were always going to win the game or just be really frustrated that they didn't win it, because they kept coming and coming and coming. Strand Larsen, the jury for me is still out on Strand Larsen. He's getting the goals, and that's all you want. But a lot of the time I feel he flatters to deceive. I kind of still don't know what his honest role and position are. But look, he's getting the goals, so who's going to complain? And it is his first season, so we'll give him that break also. Delighted with the win, delighted to be... Well, I said about 3 weeks ago Wolves were safe, so I can't believe I'm still saying I think finally we're safe, because I thought that weeks ago. Man of the match, I'm going to give to João Gomes. He is already my favourite Wolves player, but week on week he's just growing and growing and growing. He's amazing. Him and Andre, but him now again today and during the week, he was just fantastic. He's amazing. And I'm going to give the match I want to give it like a 6 out of 10 or maybe a 7, because I think Wolves are way better than that Ipswich team, but just just huffing and puffing a bit and just frustrated a bit, but by far and away the better team. So the match overall wasn't amazingly entertaining. So I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to settle on 6. All right, so peace and love to all the Wolves fans. Onwards to the next one. That's it.
Dinny turning into Craig Webber Hallwood there, I think, with his 6. Let's bring on. I promised that the youngsters, Scott and Jade, I promised I'd get them on before the 9 o'clock watershed. So hopefully they've got the lights on now and they're a bit brighter and we can see them. But I'm going to bring them on now. It's Scott and Jade.
Sorry, I'm just putting the lights on over here.
Are you
Come
going
here,
to
bad. Come here, bad.
Hello, Jade. Hello, Scott. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for calling into the show.
Thank you for allowing us on.
Oh, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. And they often are on our Premier League predictions, and Jade's often disagreeing with Scott, which is fun. So that's great. So yeah, what would you like to say to the nearly 400 people that are watching live and the thousands more that will watch it back? Myself, Jack, Josh, and Chris. What's your points that you'd like to make?
Well, I think personally, starting when Vitor Pereira came in, he got left with a massive mess that Gary O'Neill left us in, but he has done exceptionally well. Personally, I think that can we just give him manager of the season for this exceptional performance that he's done?
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, exactly. He's unbeaten in his last 4 games, and he's just getting the points. He's getting the points, and this is now a 12-point gap that we've got. So I don't see how we lose it now.
Jade, what do you would like to say on top of that?
I'm having a look at the games that you've played recently, and I see that you've got 3 wins in a row. So there's definitely no way that you're going to get relegated. You guys are definitely going to be staying up.
That's absolutely great. And Scott, any other points that you'd like to make before we get into your ratings?
Yeah. I don't know what Sean Larson's been doing these last few weeks, but whatever it is, can we just keep it up?
Yeah. I mean, he scored 4 goals in 3. He was getting a bit of stick before that. He's been holding the ball up. He's been muscling people out the way. He's been bringing players in. He's been getting into areas, heading. He's got the best shots on target ratio apparently in the league with something like 67%. And Bully had a word with him, and Vitor Pereira just asked Bully to tell him what to do, and he just says, "Take more shots, and you'll score more goals." And he's got 11. And interestingly enough, Raul Jimenez in his first season only scored 13 goals, and there's 7 games to go at the moment, and he's been out injured and stuff like that. So, you know, even Matthias Cunha, his first 6 months at Wolves, when he came in, he didn't do a lot. Obviously, he's been pretty much our star player, and we will be talking about this a little bit later. But the question I would like to ask you and Jade, before we get onto your man of the match, your performance rating is, if Matthias Cunha's ban's finished now at Tottenham, would you start him in place of anyone on the pitch, or would you start him on the bench?
I think he needs to learn his disciplinary so he can start on the bench for me.
Okay, great. Jade?
I think I'd start him on the pitch just to get him back into the swing of things.
I think it's just a bit harsh that you're putting him straight back on the pitch. Okay. He said he wants to leave, and now you're saying you're going to put him on the pitch. But, like, I don't know, because I'm really confused with his interview, because then he's come out on Instagram and said that he doesn't mean it like that. Give
him all the gameplay that he can before he leaves. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Brilliant. I love how these two argue amongst each other, brother and sister. That's fantastic. What's your Limo Window man of the match and your Fox at Shooty performance ratings, guys?
My man of the match, it's going to be Sarabia, because he got the first goal that got us back into the game, and then assisted John Larson's his substitution can say changed the game really.
Fantastic. Your performance rating?
I'll give it. Can I do like separate both halves?
Well, you can do both halves, and then we'll take the average.
Okay, I'll give it. I'll get weren't really good in the first half. I'll give it about a 5, and then in the second half, I'll give it like an 8.
I give it a 9.
So that's a 7.5 average for you then. Is that, or it's a 6? Yeah, no, hold on. If you give it a 5,
6.5.
it's a 6.5 average for you. Jade, your man of the match.
I haven't got that far yet.
The same with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know many like members,
Look-
many members of the team.
Looks like we've got a bit of learning to do.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Are you going to give it a performance rating, Jade?
At least.
I think I agree with Scott, but I changed the ratings a bit. The first half, you did kind of, it was kind of like 1-0 to Ipswich.
Kind of.
So, yes, it was. It was. Sorry, not kind of. Oh my God, calm down. Thank you. Oh no. Okay, the first
Give
half.
give it an overall, Jade. An overall. Give it an
overall, probably an 8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10. Guys, thank you ever so much for coming on and
Thank you for having us,
phoning
obviously.
into the show. We much appreciate it. Guys,
Thank you.
give young Scott and Jade a round of applause for coming
Thanks.
on.
Thank you,
Young
guys.
fans, brilliant. All the best,
Well,
guys.
We'll see you soon, Dave. We'll see you soon.
See you soon. How lovely to have young fans coming on. So I mean, let's get on to the ratings whilst we've got it. We'll start with Jack, and obviously any more points that you want to bring out about the actual game, please feel free to bring that up whilst you're talking this through. But let's start with your man of the match, your performance rating, and of course your Parkside Dental Care moment that put a smile on your face.
Yeah, performance rating, I've gone 7.5.
7.5, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we were as bad in the first half as people seem to suggest. I was listening to 606 on the way back, and they had an Ipswich fan on, and he was going, "Oh, we were much the better team in the first half, and we fell away." I don't think they were.
I didn't see
I really
that.
don't think they were.
Honest. I thought, other than the goal, they did nothing.
Yeah, their energy level and intensity was much better in the first half, but the quality wasn't there in the entire game. And I thought even 1-0 down, I thought we shaded the first half in terms of territory, possession, chances. And I think Dinny from Ireland mentioned the back pass, didn't he? And how, to me, it doesn't seem right that their goalkeeper's basically stopped a blatant goal on the line when he shouldn't. He doesn't get booked. And we get a free kick where every single player is allowed to stand on the line and try and block it.
Because it has to get taken back. To me, I mean, can I ask a question on this? Because we were talking about this, because it's like against the time you've passed it, they're on you straight away. So it's virtually impossible. Could we have just smacked it and it hit one of them and got in and it would have counted?
It's a goal, yeah, because it can't go directly in.
Right. It's indirect, isn't it?
Yeah.
As a qualified referee,
I mean, you're a ref, Chris, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk us through that, mate?
Yeah, it's basically because he stopped the ball, because the keeper handled the ball on the line. The only place that the free kick could be taken from is the 6-yard line. So it's indirect free kick, but there's no doubt about it. It's a great point. You know what? I didn't think about it at the time. We could have smashed it. One of them players got in, goal. You're right.
So I'm just saying it would have counted because as long as it hits one or two, more than one player, and the chances are if you smash it, it's going to hit someone.
It would have counted, correct. Good point. I didn't think of it actually at the time.
Yeah, I was thinking because we were talking. I think afterwards, I think Charismatic Craig was saying, or I don't know whether it's Craig or someone else that said we could have passed it back and given ourselves more time and to think, but they'd have still been rushing out. But I was saying if it's indirect, as long as it touches two people, then it's surely going to be.
Yeah, it counted 100%.
You would have had a better chance just smashing it, and if it had gone in, or if it had hit their hand as well, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Back to you then, Jack, on that.
Yeah, no, so I don't quite buy the narrative that it was the better side first half, but second half we dominated that. Felt like a matter of time before we were going to get the equaliser, and then it was interesting because obviously we'd all said sort of before the game we'd probably take a point because it keeps the status quo and whatever. But at 1-1, it was there for us, and I'm really pleased that we kept playing.
It was wave after wave of attack.
Yeah. Because it would have been easy.
22 shots on goal for Wolves. I think 6 to them. 2 shots on target for them, 7 for us.
Yeah.
That's how dominant we were away from home.
Yeah, and if you think back to a couple of weeks ago when we played Everton at home, we did shut up shop towards the end and said, "Oh, we'll just keep the point that we've got." Whereas yesterday, I think we kind of sensed blood a little bit and went for it and said, "Actually, there's a winning goal here for us that absolutely destroys them," and we went and got it. And I think that was, a sign that the progress that we're making, not just within games, but also as the season sort of rolled on under Vitor, that we've kind of got that.
They didn't play with fear, did they?
No.
You didn't play with fear. It's like, it's okay, we'll get 9 points. They went for the kill and they took it.
Yeah.
And Ipswich actually played with fear.
I think they did. And I think, it was interesting. We were talking to a couple of Ipswich fans, got sort of walking towards the ground. And the last time they kind of had that type of game was when they played Southampton at home and they lost, and I think they've got so used to being the underdogs this season, they were in League 1 2 years ago, that narrative and all that when they have a game where there's an expectation on them to get a result, they don't always deliver. And I think that's probably down to the fact they've got quite an inexperienced manager and an inexperienced squad, etc. But the pressure was kind of on them much more than us. And that played into our hands second half because they just couldn't get out. They hadn't got the quality to keep the ball up top and to play through our press. And so the more that we attacked, the deeper they got. There was there's nothing up top in the end. Was the Delap went off with sort of 15 minutes to go, and he was kind of their only real outlet all game. It kind of felt like that game was absolutely there for us, and in the end we managed to nick it. Man of the match again, João Gomes. I thought he was absolutely superb. Andre as well in the middle. I mean that ultimately that's the reason we're not getting relegated, because we've got 2 Brazilian internationals in the centre of the park,
and they are gelling.
Yeah,
they've almost got a telepathy. And watching the game, when you watch these 2 players, how they get out of tiny little situations and come away with the ball as well. They just, I don't know how they do it. Andre, if he makes a bad pass, it's like a shock.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and that's exactly what we need. Quality. This Premier League is such a competitive league. We were saying this the other day. You look at the likes of Bournemouth and Brentford, and you go, okay, but they've got 9-10 internationals playing every single week. So if you want to finish, even if you want to finish 14th, you've got to have 8, 9, 10 internationals. You've got to have top quality players all the way through your team. And I think we're starting to see that with Andre and Gomes, we've got a very, very, very good midfield there. And I think, we're going to perhaps talk a little bit later on about looking ahead towards next year.
Yes, we are,
but
yes.
Those are the first 2 names that you pin down for next season. You build your team around Andre and Gomes as your midfield too. Absolutely. Whether you need to tweak your attack or your defence to suit that, then perhaps you have to. But those 2 are the 2 for me that you've got to kind of build that team around next year. And then the moment of the day was just the end of the game, the full-time whistle, the celebrating, the songs, walking back to the, we were sort of talking about it a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? It's been a rough year for us being a fans, particularly sort of travelling away from home. And listen, we're very lucky that we can do it every week and get that we can afford it, and we've got the opportunity to have time off and to do it. So I'm never going to take it for granted, but there's been some really tough afternoons and evenings this season following us. So it was nice to kind of come out that ground. We've won the game. Things feel a lot better. Everyone's singing. Everyone's happy. So that was kind of what made me smile the most yesterday.
It was great. And the sun, as like you said, the sun was out as well. Josh, same to you. Man of the match performance rating, your moment of the day?
Man of the match, I was teetering towards Strand Larson, but I am going to go with João Gomes. Yeah, it was a close one. Straight away after the game yesterday, I was saying João Gomes, but I've watched highlights back, and the way Alan Shearer was talking about him last night on Match of the Day as well. But I am going to have to go with João Gomes because the way he was off the ball and on the ball as well, I thought he just had another brilliant game yet again. And I think it's helped since I know he had a good season with his last year and it ended sour. I think since Lemina's gone, it's freed up
he's fried.
Andre and Gomes. Because if you've noticed, Andre, he's doing the Lemina role, he's sitting back. So Gomes can go and do the body work in front. Same as Bellegarde. Bellegarde will drop into that centre midfield position, which is where he plays, and then can burst out wide from the inside channels. So I think Lemina going actually has helped the likes of Gomes, Andre and Bellegarde.
Yeah.
Allowing them to play where they all want to play. So that was my man of the match. Moment of the day was just going to an away day with my dad again. Second one I've done with him this season. So I know we try and when my brother can't come, we try and get him to. Well, I ask him if he wants to come use his first dibs. So it's the second one he's done with me this time. He's done it for Chelsea with his mate Rick. I think he watches the channel sometimes. And then one just gone the weekend at Ipswich.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Match ratings, you want that as well?
Yes, please.
7 for me. So it was a bit of a dogged first half, but like Jack said, I don't think we were as bad as some people have said. I thought we weren't brilliant, but they weren't brilliant either. And I think we were brought down to their level a bit first half. And I actually think them scoring first helped us because all they were going to do was sit back and we had to come out. And although they were sitting back, we
created a lot of chances. They got lucky a few times, like the block on the line, Aït-Nouri miss-hitting a shot when we was bouncing around. Gomes hit the inside of the post, and then the rebound just goes over the thing. They were getting away with it for a long period. And I was sat with, obviously Emma was next to me, and I just said, because I think a lot of us were thinking, is it going to be one of them games where it just don't go in the net? And I just felt the goal was coming. And it did come, and it came from Sarabia. And the one thing Sarabia, he just gets some stick, and he will go at the end of the season. And he is the highest player, but he is a very, very talented player. He's a player that throughout his Wolves career will be remembered for some magical moments. I think of the Tottenham game when he took the ball, bang, bang, and then played the assist. And he did the same yesterday. He scored the goal and did the assist. And those were two big games, and he maybe should have contributed a lot more. Yeah. But he has contributed some key, and that game is massive for us in the season. So it's a good shout. So your rating is?
It's a 7 from me. Like I said, dogged first half where we were brought them to their level. But we brought it back. So it's a 7 from me.
Fantastic. Chris?
Moment of the match you want first.
Go on.
Moment of the match for me, I think, was Sarabia's equaliser, because at that specific moment, I thought we're safe. I couldn't see. A draw was always going to be enough for us anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the amazing skill and goal that was scored. It wasn't even, and no one's mentioned this, but brilliant back to goal play. And supply by Jürgen Strand Larsen.
Mate, he took the ball.
Brilliant.
And then he saw him and he dinked it right into him. If you notice, the defender carried on running, Sarabia stopped, and he saw that and he dinked it into him, and he got the rebound and then finished it.
That was the whole moment for me was, that's it, we're safe. I actually said it in my head, that's it, we're safe. That's my moment of the match for certain. Man of the match. Well, it's Joe Gomez all day long. Now, I do something. I wonder if other people do this, either you guys or anyone who's watching or listening at this time, which is that after a Wolves game, I always go onto the local BBC radio station of our opponents just to see what their fans made of it. Because you get a different perspective from ourselves, don't we? So I went onto Radio Suffolk and I come home from work and just listen back to it. Their fans and the expert summariser, Mick Mills, were talking a lot about being pounded and hammered into submission by João Gomes and Andre. Particularly in the second half, they were saying they got a short pass from our defenders, or Ipswich lost the ball, and it went to Gomes and Andre, and they hammered them. They pounded them into submission. It's true, wasn't it?
Yeah. Relentless.
It was those two. So that isn't it interesting to get a different perspective? They felt hammered by those two. They even said, Mick Mills said, but obviously I don't look at the opposition as much. Mick Mills was saying that actually it was at some point 4 of their midfield against 2 of ours, and they got hammered. Think about that.
I know, and I think Craig described their midfield performances as mercurial together, which was a fantastic word. So yeah. I mean,
it really is.
I mean, absolutely brilliant. I mean, if guys in the chat leave your your thoughts match rating. I mean, I went with Joe Gomes as well. I gave it a 9 yesterday. I was going to sort of like an 8.5. I mean, I was the joy of coming out the game. I thought throughout the whole of the game, pretty much, I never felt really majorly stressed about, I mean, they scored a goal. And then I thought we were just so dominant, and the joy of winning and how important, which is why I can't really give it a 6. It was such a key game under such incredible pressure. What you have to understand as well is we knew we were going into that game into what would have been a cauldron for them. They have to win that game. And it's very easy to have seen this team under Gary O'Neill would have collapsed under that pressure. And for the way that we played and even kept our composure being a goal down and then kept playing and kept pushing and kept going and controlling the game and forcing them back and winning the game, it's like, I mean, obviously everyone can give the scores. And I think that pressure and what it meant to be able to deal with that, I think that shows real character and resilience within the team and belief. And then obviously they go on and win it. And the joy of winning it and how important it was is why I gave it such a high score personally. But yeah, I mean, it's great. Just before we get on to the rest of the show, well, let's hear again now from it's New York Dave.
Dave, New York Wolves here outside McHale's on a horrible rainy Saturday. Well, we're pretty much safe now, right? I hope so. Never rule Wolves out from giving us drama, but we got the job done. I think even though we let Ipswich look better than they actually are, gave them a goal, you could see we were the better team all along, I think. I think we had more chances than them, but we just didn't really click in attack. We looked a little bit, tired, anemic, whatever it was. But you could tell we were clearly the better side, and obviously we kept at it. Much better second half and turned it around, I think, justifiably. We earned that win, and you got to think we're safe now, and actually we start looking above us. Shame West Ham didn't lose, but I think we're 2 and 3 points off a couple of teams above us, so maybe we can move up from 17th, which will be fantastic. So today was all about getting the win, and we did that. Actually, today was really all about avoiding defeat first, but picking up 3 points was brilliant. So wasn't the best performance, but who cares? It's all about the points these days. So we got that, and I thought Gomes is growing into the team. He's looking a lot more dangerous going forward. Great shot off the post. Larson doing what Larson does and scoring. He frustrates me sometimes because he doesn't hold the ball up as much as I think he should, but as long as he keeps getting on the score sheet, I don't really care. So that's about it. On to Tottenham next week, and if they slip up against Southampton, we can potentially go above them next week, which would be brilliant. So time to maybe start looking above us and moving up the table, which I didn't think we would, but I'll take it. So up the Wolves.
Yeah, of course. 7 games to go. Tottenham did manage to beat Southampton. Southampton are still in line to become officially the first Premier League team in history. They still need 2 points to beat Derby. Southampton, as I say, are very relegated, but Southampton are only if we have a look at the league table, actually, it's going to be interesting to share that with you. If we look at the league table and bring it onto the screen, and we look at that bottom there, you can just see, look at this run of Wolves. We've lost 1 in 6. The last 4 games without Cunha, we've drawn 1-1-1. That's 10 points. We've got 13 points out of the last 18 available to us. And then you look up the table. West Ham, who we beat in the week, is now 3 points in front of us with a worse goal difference. Everton are 3 points in front of us with a better goal difference. Tottenham are 5 points in front of us from 14th. We play them next. And guess who we play after that? Manchester United are on 38. We're only 6 points now off 13th. Now, Wolves have not got out of the bottom 4 all season. So if I was Vitor Pereira, keep the hammer down and keep going. And it's worth about £2.5 million a place, I think. Why can't we look forward and try and move up the state. If we ended up finishing above 17th, 16th, 15th, would be absolutely incredible, wouldn't it? Jack, the job that Vitor Pereira's done, mate, just sum it up. I know you've got a few words on this.
Yeah, I mean, just touching on what you were saying there, I think it's absolutely key that we keep the hammer down now. I mean, if you go back to, in fact, actually, I wrote it down here, our last 3 managers all finished the season with a bit of a whimper, and they didn't last very long into the next season. Bruno Lage, 1 win in 8 at the end of his season, was sacked by October. Lopetegui, 1 win in 7 at the end of his season. He bottled it before the season even started, didn't he? And then O'Neill last year, 1 win in 10 at the end, and then he limped on till December this year, but it was clear from way before that he wasn't up to the job. So we've got to kind of take in this momentum now. If the job that Vitor's done is fantastic, but all the talk of him is a long-term project, isn't it? He's not just come here to keep us up this year and then give us a salute and disappear into the sunset. He's here to do a really good job for a long time, hopefully, and that starts right now, doesn't it? Okay, well, not mathematically, but he's kept us up this year, hasn't he? Barring something extraordinary. But now the rest of his time starts with these 7 games. Can we get to 40 points? Can we get to 41? Whatever he's kind of targeting, and then really go into next season, into pre-season, with a bit of momentum, bit of confidence, bit of belief. He's got everyone united. The whole fan base eating at the palm of his hand.
He gets the fans as well. He talks in language that fans can understand about going to the pub. And I love the interview, the press conference he did, the press conference before last, when he said he goes to the pub, he gets energy from the fans that he can put back. And the interview, he said, how energized are you feeling? And he went, I feel powerful because of the energy he's getting from the fans. And the fans really can relate to him, I think.
Yeah, what he is he's a mirror, effectively. As a leader, he's a mirror. So what he does as a person, he shows everyone, whether it's his players, whether it's his fans, he says, this is what I'm like. This is what I want you to be like as well. I'm passionate. I'm happy to be here. I love Wolverhampton. I love these players. I want you to love them as well. I want you to be proud of your city and your football club. And if we're all doing that, we're going to achieve something fantastic. It's exactly what Nuno did. Nuno, from the minute he walked into our football club, got the city, he got the football club, he got the fan base, and look at what he achieved. And I think Vitor's doing exactly the same. He's understood what Wolverhampton's about. He's understood what our fan base is about. He's understood what our team's about. And he's just getting everyone around him. And he's a mirror. And he says, this is what we need. I'm going to do it. I want you to do it as well. And if you do, you're on my side and I'll take you wherever you want to go. If you ain't going to be like me, I've got no time for you. He got rid of Lamina. He's got rid of Dawson. There'll be probably 1 or 2 others in the summer that he'll, sideline because they don't fit what he wants. So, I think we've really got someone here that we can really buy into and get behind. And he's got to be backed in the summer.
Absolutely. Patrick Moran says 100% there, Jack. Josh, what do you want to add to that?
Like I said, he's brought discipline back to it all, and he's going out in the area. He was in the Gifford last night. He also went in Spoons. Not sure on that choice. I think he should have a look at the Posada or the Lichgate for a change rather than Spoons. But fair play to him. He's getting out. He's interacting with people, and he's getting everyone back on side. And that's exactly what we need in the club at the moment. And I'm sure other people who are on the chat who work at the club can hopefully back it up and say that he's putting the work in and speaking to everybody, because that's the vibe you're getting. Like we had with Nuno, and I think it's a bit of a Portuguese culture thing, that is, really, because Bruno Lage tried to do it, but it faded off.
Bruno Lage, he seems different to Bruno Lage to me.
Whereas
Bruno Lage is more like Gary O'Neill.
In the end, he kept him, he stayed apart, didn't he? Whereas Nuno
back at whatever time. Whereas Vitor has changed it that home matches as well, they're back in the hotel before the games, where he's brought all these sort of things back in. They're even back doing the huddle on the pitch.
But it's like Nuno did it, same sort of thing, getting used to everyone. Jason, when Jose Mourinho first turned up at Chelsea, he was doing the same sort of things, getting everybody on board, getting everybody together. But then his ego got too big, so he went downhill, didn't he? But now it's looking it's looking a lot better vibe around the place. And when you see the videos coming on YouTube and TikTok, especially the one this week or back end of last week of Jose Sarr ploughing through the reception on that electrical bike, and it was just like, where's that come from? He looks happy again compared to before Christmas.
They look like they're actually enjoying being around each other, enjoying training, enjoying being part of a team, and not fighting amongst each other. They seem to be buying in. They're seeing the results, and it's bringing the fans back with the team. And they're reflective of the fans in the stand. They're playing with passion and heart in the right way, and not letting it, tip over into sort of like areas that we don't need it to. And I thought that they showed that passion against Ipswich, but focused it into the performance and the play, and then the celebrations when the goals went in and stuff like that. The way it was just brilliant. And I think at the end, even though Vitor Pereira wasn't on the pitch, they were still coming over and technically they were doing the ooh, and then I
still think there was a bit of acknowledgement to him there as well, because you could see they wanted to do the fist pump, and it was a bit of a half-hearted fist pump. So I think they were all thinking that's the fans and Vitor's thing rather than their thing and our thing.
I took it
I
in
think
turns.
there's a bit of respect there to say, look, we're going to give it the fist pump, but we're not going to give it the big one because we want you to do it when you're back.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That is really good point. Chris, Vitor Pereira,
what
to Gary O'Neill.
What a difference. Now, I hope we all learn as a fan base and a football club the importance of a manager or head coach in modern terminology. I'll use manager. This guy's more of a manager, isn't he? Do we not think? What a difference. Most of the players are the same, right? What a difference. Now, we've got to learn by this. Let's be fair. There was what was it, 1 win in 10 end of last season. We started this season really badly. And I think we all used the turning point, as you have many times, Dave, regarding Brentford away. That was it. It was gone. Should have been 5 then. Now, do we learn as a fan base?
Half time, mate. Half time. You should have gone.
Exactly. But, do we now learn as a fan base that if we know a manager isn't working out and it's not going to work out, and the club ain't prepared to act, we drive them out. We have that power. We were a little bit too passive. I talked earlier about Ipswich being pounded into submission by Andre and Joe Gomes. We were pounded into submission by Gary O'Neill and the performance levels. We were, and and the way the club treated us in the summer regarding what they said about what kind of things you could expect as a Wolves fan and putting the prices up. We mustn't make that mistake again. A bit like, remember, the latter days of Bruno Lage, it was gone. If we'd have sacked Gary O'Neill after Brentford and employed Vitor Pereira, where would we be now? Top 10, easy.
Absolutely.
Point here is
the form table says, I think, if the Vitor Pereira reign was the whole season, we'd be top 7.
Easily.
Top 5
for
like
sure.
That, based off his points per game ratio so far.
Yeah. Can we learn by this? Like, if it's not working, we get them out. We do whatever we can to get them out and avoid what happened. The time, it was like a time zone between Brentford and when Vitor Pereira came. How depressing was it? How was everyone's lives?
It got to the point where people had gone past anger to apathy and that not caring. And when it gets to that point, it's really, really bad. And obviously the Ipswich game was in hindsight, it was so bad, the Ipswich game, we lost. But what happened if we'd have drawn or we'd have won that game? Would he still
just stayed?
So in some ways, it might have been one of the best things that happened, because there was no coming back from that. There's no sugarcoating it that could have come back from that. Everyone, he'd lost the dressing room, he'd lost the fans. It would have just got worse and worse and worse. Vitor Pereira's come in, and someone put that they're worried about in the chat that they're worried about Vitor Pereira and he's only got an 18 months. He only stays for 18 months and this under, and it was his 600th game. Let's just put things into context. Vitor Pereira, as someone, his whole managerial career, he has wanted to manage in the top league in the world, in the Premier League. By his own admission, he's accepted jobs because he just didn't want to sit at home. He took a job to go and work, even for 6 months and stuff. So when he said he's had a lot of jobs, it's because he didn't want. It's unlike the likes of Gary O'Neill, who will sit at home picking up his money from Wolves until he gets another job. Vitor Pereira wanted to go out and work. You know, he's worked in Saudi. He ain't come here for the money. He's come here because he wants to test himself at the best.
We had to pull him from Saudi as well, didn't we?
Pardon?
We had to pull him from Saudi. Think of the money he'd have been on there, and we took him away from the team he was at.
Exactly. And, you know, they've got shed loads of money over there. The thing with the difference between Gary O'Neill for me, and, you know, I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything. I never felt that Gary O'Neill was committed to the club. He would, from what I understand, he went home a lot of the time during the week. They didn't start training until about 10, half 10. They got rid of the hotels, all this sort of, and that feeds through into the squad. Vitor Pereira, I think at the end, Gary O'Neill just wanted to go and just wanted out. He never moved up and stuff like that. Whereas Vitor Pereira and his team have worked their entire career for this opportunity. And that, for me, means that he's going to put everything into making it a success and give it everything because he wants to be here. This is his time and this is his chance. And he's giving 150%. And that's why I think he's going to be a big success and why he gets it. He said before he came, he studied the team, he believes in it. He's obviously bought in some good players in January, Agbadu being one. And we've got the basis of something now. Jack.
Yeah, just go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say two very quick points on what you've just been discussing. Number one, it's a very British thing to look at someone as a journeyman and say, oh, they've had a lot of clubs. They don't stay somewhere very long. On the continent, in Portugal, Germany, France, someone who's worked at a lot of clubs is seen as very experienced with a good work ethic that wants to do well. It's only in Britain that we look at someone who's had 20 clubs, 15 clubs and go, oh, what a journeyman. So I think we've got to almost change our mindsets a little bit and go, actually, you know what? He's worked in Greece, China, Portugal, Germany, Saudi, now England. What a wealth of experience that is. He's not journeyman. He's a very, very experienced manager. It was his 600th game yesterday.
600th game, yeah.
600th. Now, in modern football, if you're a crap manager, you don't get to 60.
No.
So to get to 600, he knows what he's doing. And I think the other quick point, all the things that people are saying about Pereira, everyone was saying the same about Nuno when he came. Doesn't stay somewhere very long, doesn't know the area. Will he settle? All that kind of stuff. And you know, the rest, as you say, was history. So, you know, I think we can be very, very optimistic about Vitor.
Absolutely. And on that point, because we want to talk about, you know, what I think one of the things that everyone's concerned about, quite rightly, has been the recruitment strategy and where we've gone backwards the last 3-4 years. We've gone backwards and backwards and backwards. And, you know, we've got out of it again this year. We had the Lopetegui. This is the second warning that we've had. Obviously, they were the second highest spenders in January. But the key thing is we've got a manager now that gets the town, gets the fans, you know, seems to be getting the players together. You know, we know that there's a lot swirling around Cunha because, you know, with the media and stuff like that. We know Sarabia is probably going to go. Semedo might go, but I hope he stays because maybe he'll see that we're going somewhere and he'll fancy it, maybe. Hugo Bueno should come back. Yerson Mosquera is coming back. But the key things today, is there a sea change now? Is there a scene of the light? Is there the ambition going to be turned back on? Because two key signings this week for me. The first one, Yerson Mosquera, he's been out injured, but he looks a player. Athletic, very good on the ball, a contract extension, to 2030. Totti Gomes is someone, he's still learning, young, makes the odd mistake, but alongside someone like Agbadu, who was nervous to start with, but now, had the lap in his pocket and they took him off. Other than that one thing, you could have a back line next year of Hugo Bueno, who's been playing Champions League football this year with the experience he's had, Totti Gomes, Agbadu, Yerson Mosquera. You got that Gigi coming in, Santiago Bueno. Doc, I think, will still have a job because I think he could be versatile either as a backup. I don't think he'll be a starter next year, but he'd certainly be a part of the leadership team. I think he can play in the middle. He could do a job at wing back as well. But the other one, and because I think Ryan Aït-Nouri potentially might go, but the other one, João Gomes, that was the one that I think most Wolves fans were really like, okay, they can go there, but we can't sell Gomes. And the fact that they've signed him contract extension with no buyout clause, is it a sign of intent, Jack, that we're going to have the defence sorted, the solid, and then if they invest the money and get the right forwards, we could be in for something special under Vitor if they back him properly. Is that how you feel?
I think so. I think there's an element of protecting your assets, because if you've got João Gomes, who's 22, 23, and he's on a 5-year contract and he's happy at the club, and let's say, for argument's sake, Liverpool come and say, oh, we really like João Gomes, you can turn around to them and say, well, it's 80 million or F off. Basically, he's on a long-term contract. He's happy here. He's going nowhere unless you offer us every single penny that we want. So there's an element of that, because we've kind of been forced a little bit at times to kind of let players go when we weren't quite happy to let them go. But it was a big club coming in, so we were kind of like, oh, we don't want to stand in your way. Now we've got these players protected. We can kind of turn around and say, well, it's on our terms now. So there's an element of that. But there's an element also of, Vitor likes João Gomes. He managed him in Brazil, and now he's managed him at Wolves. He likes the type of defender Mosquera is. I think he's already referenced that this week, hasn't he? He said, I've watched the videos when he played at the start of the season. I like that type of defender, strong, physical, quick. So there's an element of we're kind of building a team in the manager's identity a little bit. So you get Mosquera tied down, you get Gomes tied down. There might be one or two others in the coming weeks that kind of get new contracts sorted out as well. So there's an element of that as well, isn't there, where we've perhaps acknowledged, like Chris was mentioning earlier, that if you've got a really good manager in place, you've got to bend over backwards to make sure that give them what they want, and they will work miracles for you, and they will do exactly what you want them to do. If you're penny pinching and if you're selling players every summer to meet these fantasy FFP, PSR targets that no one else in the league seems to pay a blind bit of attention to, then you're always going to be on the back foot. But if you go, actually, we've got a manager here that if we back him and we make the right signings and we get, this, that, and the other, we can do something here. And I think there's an element of that there, that they're kind of going, right, what are your key points for next season, Vitor? What do you want in that squad? And they're kind of putting those in place now, aren't they? There's been a lot of, debate about Munetsi, hasn't there? But I think Vitor wants a Munetsi player in his team.
Well, it was interesting, both on radio and if you watched Match of the Day last night, Vitor Pereira made a very strong point about how Larsson's getting the goal and how Munetsi is instrumental to help him make that happen because he disrupts. Now, let's be honest, we could have a highlights reel of the chances that Munetsi's missed so far, but he's still new to the league. It's something they will be developing on. He's not a natural forward. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder. So, again, he gives a lot, and he's a very strong athletic character that's got an engine on him. And if he's been used in a way that Vitor Pereira has been saying, he's kind of like opened up the spaces for Larsson to get in. That's clever, and I trust Vitor Pereira to know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, and he's a leader as well, isn't he, Munetsi?
Yeah. So, Josh, your thoughts on the signings and because I think it's important we talk about it.
Yep. I say Agbadu's been a rock. I know when he first come in and he was on that left-hand side, you could see straight away that he wanted to be on his right foot. So putting him in the middle or on. So when before we heard all about this Dawson bust up, I thought Dawson was going to come back in the middle and they were going to move Agbadu to the right. They put Agbadu in the right. Totti's coming in on the left. And I think it's worked. And it's because he's a more rounded player. it's brought Totti's levels up a bit, I think, as well, like Totti did when he was next to Dawson and Kilman last year. Still got a mistake in him, as we saw at West Ham. But I think Magbadou's brought a massive difference to that back line. Mosquera coming back as well. So I thought he was doing well at the start of the season. I think he's got to be that Colombian, I'm going to say the word, he's got that Colombian shithouser in him, as we saw against Arsenal. And we need a bit of that. We need a bit of someone who's willing to wind up the opposition and get under strikers' fingernails and have a go at them. And then the contract signings this week, I think, have been massive. I think it's when we heard that Mendez's number 2 was down at Compton for the week, I was automatically thinking, oh, he's down here signing Cunha's deal off. Come the summer, but to hear Mosquera and Gomes both signing contracts, I think huge going forward. So we're going to get to the end of the season now, get everybody in, and they need to have a good look and see what they need to do next year now, and then push on from this point.
Absolutely, Chris. What do you want to add to all of that, and what do you think it means?
Well, you know, backing up what the guy said about the players who sign new contract, let's think about it. A back three next season of Mosquera, Agbadou and Totti. Somebody's going to get killed. Listen, there's no way that ain't going to work, right? There's no way that's not going to work.
I mean, the defence was a big worry, and all of coming towards the end of the season, we're starting to think, bloody hell, look at the midfield and defence we could have next year.
And so I'm looking at the organisation and the 2 in midfield. We must not sell those 2 in centre midfield. Menezes, I don't need to know why he does polarise opinion. I like everything I see. Yeah. What's not to like?
If you watch how he plays, Menezes, and it's my brother who spotted it, it's like what Nuno did with Alfred and Dye and Dendoncker. Put them further forward on that right-hand side of midfield, going into the inside forward role and pushing the ball forward and chasing the men down. And Dendoncker used to do it loads, but no one ever saw it. And I know
it's true. It's true. Did you see Menezes yesterday? Was it the 95th or 96th minute? It was chasing the ball. The left centre half, the keeper, it was along. He was still chasing everything. But guy's been brilliant for us. I don't understand people who say they don't rate him. I don't get it. So the nature of the signings and the contract signings, I really like. But listen, I know we've all said it's much better now, but we can't class it as a good season. I tell you what, we're seeing signs. We're seeing signs now, but we might have a bright future.
Oh, absolutely. Apparently we've got, I don't know whether it's an Ipswich fan says, we're the worst fans that we've visited this season. It's funny, you know, because the last away game that we went to, all the I can't think who it was now, but they were saying we were the best fans we've visited all season. And as far as I can understand, the Ipswich fans were applauding the Wolves fans who were singing after their goal about VAR.
It's true. That is true. That was caught on international TV.
They can't applaud that, though, can they? Come on. Everyone's thinking about the 19-1.
Yeah, the Ipswich fans were applauding us because they were singing about the VAR. Ipswich had scored, and even though they were 1-0 up and were waiting for a VAR decision that could have overturned it, the Wolves fans were singing. The Ipswich fans looked over and they started applauding.
It's true. I saw it. Yeah.
The Wolves fans were doing so. You know, there was actually a little bit of Josh. I think we should cover it up. A little bit of an incident exactly where we were because we were in the lower tier. Where there were some people thrown out and stuff like that. We were right there. It was in front of the executive boxes. And obviously you go to an away game, you stand up, and they were trying to get people to sit down. And obviously the way it was, the executive box is right behind. They want people to sit down because they can't see. Some people did, some people didn't. The stewarding, there were some really nice stewards, but they did get really heavy-handed. And then in the second half, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. I've got about 3 minutes worth of video on that, which I will probably put up sometime last week for people to make their own mind up, which it just, for the first sort of 20 minutes from where we were, we couldn't even see one end of the pitch because the stewards were standing in the way of what we could do. So you had to stand up. It was crazy. Never known anything like it, but it was exacerbated by the instructions that they got from what they were having. And they were just doing their jobs, obviously. Some people went and did it. Some people didn't want to. It did actually clearly say on the thing that it was a sitting area, but then most away ends say that anyway, and you stand up, and people expect to stand up, but it caused an issue, and you know that was the only sour point on it. But like, I thought the Wolves fans were absolutely brilliant, and we spoke to so many lovely Ipswich fans as well. The one thing I would, and I've said on the thing, you know, there's a bit of one here that's coming on and going that. But the majority of the Ipswich fans are decent people they're a one city club like ourselves. They've had big success in the past. They've come up 2 divisions. They've suffered like what we have. We can relate to the Ipswich fans because So from my point of view, I enjoyed the away day, and I hope that they come back because it was you know, they got a nice quayside and the restaurants, and we went for a Turkish in the evening as well. But moving on from all of that, in terms of Mosquera and Joe Gomes, I am hoping that it's a statement of intent. You know, with everything that's going on, that they're working behind the scenes. I thought it was really, really positive to try and tie these down and back Vitor Pereira. This guy I believe could take us places, really could, and I'm hoping that the lessons have been learned. And when we get to the summer, there's none of this. Like, obviously, they've got to sell and balance. If they get the right recruitment in the summer now and build on what we could have defensively and get the right wing backs in, you know, and the forwards in, I think we could have something really special next year, and we could really, you know, do something. What do you guys think?
Signs are there, aren't they?
Chris. Go on, Chris. Go on.
But I just think the signs are there. Some really good signs, some really positive signs now, ending the season well. And that's why it's important we really take advantage of the last few games. I saw last season's pre-season, I thought we're onto something. So I got that wrong. But it just looks good.
Yeah, Josh?
It all drums down to me, Fowson have got to get their act together. That's the main drumming point. We can sing and dance that we're looking good, but they've got to get everything in order. They get that right, we'll be all right. But we've seen too many times now, and it's a repeat of the Lopetegui season all over again. When Bruno Lage, exactly the same. And I always remember went down to Soccer AM that year, talking to Fenners and Jimmy Bullard about it. And like they said, oh, you'll be fine. And at the time, we weren't. Lopetegui come in like Vitor has and sorted it all out. And then we got to that summer, and everything was up in the air again. It was like
I think the main difference with that summer, and it's not going to be the same this summer, is they literally took everything from summer and put it into. You know, we bought a lot of really high value players, about 5 players that time, and there's a lot of money, and there was nothing really left in the pot for the summer. And if like 2 or 3 of them players would have been bought in the summer, no one would have said anything. It would have been like a good summer. This summer, I think there's another lot of money that's dropping off. If they do sell Cunha for 62.5 million, and Ran goes, maybe Fabio goes, and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot more. I think there can be a lot more that they can do to invest. So, Jack, you might know a little bit more about that, sitting on the fans advisory board than most of us. I mean, I know you can't go into too much detail. So, do you get any sort of vibe from the financials? Because I'm sure that comes up.
Yeah, I mean, again, not to kind of bore everybody, but I think PSR is going to change in the next sort of 2 years. It's been phased out and being replaced with something called squad cost ratio. So basically every club will be able to spend, I think it's something like 85% of their turnover on wages and transfer fees, etc., and agent fees and all that. So I think the club are currently in the process of moving away from looking at the PSR figures because I think, as you've just mentioned, a big loss is going to drop off the 3-year rolling this summer.
I think it's about 60 million loss that's dropping off.
And then looking
on
at
top of what we make in the summer
Yeah.
in terms of player sales.
Yeah, and then looking at kind of how the squad cost ratio goes, I mean, I think the club are quite confident that that can be within the parameters of what the squad cost ratio will be, particularly if one or two high earners move on this summer, i.e. Sarabia, Semedo, Cunha probably. So there's probably not a blank slate this summer, but there's probably a lot more freedom financially than we've had in previous summers, would be kind of how I'd interpret what's going on. And ultimately, I think, the cricket season has started, so I'm going to use a cricket terminology. We've got to be on the front foot this summer with communication to fans, with ticketing, with transfers, with pre-season. We've got to be on the front foot. We've got to be aggressive and positive and go into next season with a bit of snarl and a bit of bounce and a bit of, we're Wolverhampton Wanderers, and let's be proud of that, because the manager's showing how proud he is of us and our city. If we're on the back foot again this summer and we're selling players left, right and centre, and we're not bringing anybody in, and we're cancelling friendlies last minute, and there's the chairman saying, "Oh, don't support Wolves if you want to win trophies," and nonsense like that, then we're going to be in exactly the same position in 12 months' time. But if we come out this summer and go, "I'll tell you what, we're going to do this, 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 and this, bang, 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 done," and then all of a sudden we're going into next season, we've got our chests puffed out and we're thinking, right, come on, let's have a go, then I think it'll be a completely different story.
I think you're absolutely right. We're going to go on to room 101 in a second. I've got some other stuff to talk, and I'm going to take a Q&A. But before we finish, nothing from Wolfman Jeff this week. Someone's asked about Sutty. He's not too good at the moment, so he's not available to come on. And let's go with Noah from California. He's doing it, Chris.
Noah here, coming to you from the beautiful Yosemite National Park in California. It ends Ipswich Town 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club 2 at Portman Road. It all but secures survival. An absolutely massive win. It wasn't going to be easy today. It didn't have to be pretty. The way we could either pull out a draw or win, because I would have been happy with the draw, certainly. But I tell you, the job Vitor Pereira has done in, let's face it, a fairly short amount of time has been nothing short of incredible. It feels like we have that identity back, the passion back. And as fans, the love for our club, not that there wasn't, not that we were losing any love, but we can go to matches now, watch matches now, without worry of how is this one going to go. 2 goals, Sarabia does well, tucking it away. And then, I think it was Doc maybe who got the assist on the Larson goal. Really well worked. But I think the main thing is, yes, Delap gets his goal, but overall, we looked very defensively solid. And what a world of difference it was from the first game against Ipswich to now. It's a 12-point gap, 7 games to go. And hopefully, now we can just sit back and relax. As fans, of course, not the players, because Vitor Pereira has the right mentality in saying it's not over till it's over. But as fans, you get where I'm coming from. So, anyways, it's on Spurs next. And, great to know that we're staying up. Anyways, take care, everyone. Enjoy the 3 points. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And always Wolves.
Do you know what? I've seen Noah happier when we've lost. He was like, very, very serious. Look, that's great. Look, thanks for everyone that's phoned in tonight or jumped on the show. Much appreciated. We're into the last 15 minutes now. We're going to have a bit of fun. And then we're going to do a Q&A at the end. And maybe some suggestions for Jeff for the summer. That would be kind of cool. So we're going to go on to room 101. And in this week's room 101, and you guys can get involved in the chat as well. We're going to be asking, what football game from history would you throw into room 101? You've then got to justify it, and I'll decide whether it goes in or not. Chris, Josh, or Jack, who would like to go first?
I can take it. If that's okay.
Go on then, Chris.
Right. So I'm gonna go to something that's the polar opposite of yesterday, and indeed was also from the East Anglia region. So I take us all back to May 2001, and we've just
May
the choke season, as
yeah.
we call it, and we were away at Norwich in the first leg of the playoffs. We lost 3-1, and that journey back from Carrow Road, knowing, but like yesterday, when we won yesterday, and we knew we were safe. Driving back from Norwich on the A14, A1, and everything, and it was a terrible, terrible journey. The end of that season was the knowledge that it was also finished. We'd blown it. We'd blown the biggest lead ever. It was a polar opposite feeling from yesterday. So it's very appropriate, but I would like to place into room 101, Norwich away, first leg of the playoffs, May 2001. 2002.
There's two reasons I'm going to take that one in. One's your argument. The second one, we played Ipswich yesterday, and it'll please the Ipswich fans. And the third one is, we spoke to so many Ipswich fans yesterday, and when we were talking to them, I was saying, like, ask Emma which football team she hates the most. You'd think, and it's Norwich. Ever since Delia went on the Swift and let's be having you, she's not liked them. So I think that's a good one. We'll put that one into room 101. Josh.
So I'm probably going to go against the grain here because there's two obvious answers for me if it was Wolves, but I'm not going to stick with Wolves.
Yeah, no, it could be any football game.
Yeah, I see the backed on with Wolves games. We wouldn't be in the position we are now, playing in the Premier League, if certain games didn't happen. I'll let everyone's imagination think which one that would be, but I would actually keep it because we wouldn't have been there where we are now. There's also another Wolves one, but we played on after it, which was the FA Cup semi-final, and we got to Europe afterwards, so I'll keep that.
I mean, there's a lot that are going for the FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah, but I'd keep it because I remember walking out of Watford, beating them 2-1, Ben Foster blaming the wind, and we were 2 games of winning from away from winning getting to Europe. So in the grand scheme of things, we got the better side of the draw on that one.
Yeah.
Although I'd love to have gone to an FA Cup final, but we still got Europe. But the game I'd get rid of isn't a Wolves game. It would be the 2019 Champions League final between Liverpool and Tottenham. It was the most boring Champions League final ever. Spurs just sat back all game playing not to lose, when really it's their first European final in God knows how long. They had nothing to lose. They could have gone out with Harry Kane and Sonny up top and go for it, and they didn't. Liverpool did exactly the same and scored 2 counter-attacking goals. And they were just, it was like watching a tennis match, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Sitting in the pub, I hardly watched the second half. It was the most boring Champions League final I've ever watched. So that is why that's going in.
Oh, mate, I just think that's got to go in. I think for those very, very reasons, I just thought, that's a very, very good one to put 2 British clubs, and it was hardly a showpiece for the Premier League.
It was horrendous.
Yeah, good shout that, actually. Jack, I'm going to be really intrigued to see which one you're pulling out here, mate, because I know you're the voice of reason, and you're also the thought. So you just thought deep about this one. So I'm intrigued on what you're going with.
Yeah, I've written down Watford straight away, but I also agree with Josh to an extent that everything happens for a reason. And so if you were taking things out and things, I wrote down when we lost 1-0 at home to Grimsby in the same season that Chris mentioned the playoffs, because I think that was the day that Mosquera got sent off and missed the rest of the season, and Mark Kennedy got injured and missed the rest of the season. And had that result gone differently, maybe we'd have gone up automatic and things may have turned out a little bit better than they did. But I'm going to put England 2, Argentina 2 from France 98.
Is that the goal where it was disallowed at the end?
Yeah, it was and it was the David Beckham red card.
The card,
because I just think that was as a young, I was 7 years old at the time, and it was the first time I'd really sort of had my heart broken by football. First time of many, obviously, but yeah, I really sort of, when it was young sort of enthusiasm, I thought we were going to win the World Cup. You know, we had Shearer and Owen and Beckham, and it just didn't happen. So that was probably the one for me where I just think, consign it to the rubbish bin, really.
Which
but
was the one where Campbell or whoever it scored the defender that
that was the one. Yeah,
It was Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh
Campbell,
yeah, I remember that.
Disallowed
I was
for
in second Super
know,
Bowl.
spurious reasons. Yeah,
and watching it, and remember that going in and we're celebrating like it was unbelievable, and then like we're running around, and then all of a sudden they've got the ball and are attacking, and we're like, what's going on? Have they kicked off already? And then we're running back to try and that was crazy. That was that was, and I still don't know why that goal was disallowed. I still just don't know. I'm going to leave the decision on this one to Chris and Josh, because I'm not sure, because it is the one that lives in the memory for various regions and pain and heartbreak. And I think you've got to have pain to have the joy. And hopefully England will win something like Wolves will. But I'm going to leave this one down to the chat and to Chris and Josh. Should that go into room 101 or should it stay out?
Oh, we are just... I remember the game really well, and actually saying that what you said just now regarding celebrating the goal. I mean, hold on a minute, what's happened there? That lives in memory.
Well.
It's a good choice, isn't it? But for so many, I don't know.
Josh, it's down to you.
I'm about to upset a lot of people in the chat here because I was only maybe even be 3 or 4 at the time, so I don't remember that game.
Oh. Well, you can't comment, man. Oh my God, I don't believe it.
For that reason, we're going to keep that one out. But I can understand, sometimes to have the pain, you need it to really enjoy the success. And, there's certain games in Wolves history you talk about, like the FA Cup semi-final. I wouldn't put that one into room 101 personally, even though I've never watched it back. Because the whole day up until that point was to get into Wembley and the hope and that's 82 minutes was just amazing, and we thought we were gonna. And I was with my dad and all of that sort of jazz, and I wouldn't want to. And also a reason why I personally wouldn't to Bill, aka Shorten Connery, who eventually always used to say "always wolves," which is how the channel got its name. And sat next to me for 20 years, and he died the next season of bowel cancer. There, he's got the book, the program there. He lost his wife a couple of years before, and he lived in Buckinghamshire, and he drove over to us, and we said, "You can come with us for that day," and we got to spend the whole of that day with him. And I would never want to lose, although it's a painful memory, and we were gutted to have that day with him. And that memory with him, it means a lot. So, but hopefully that pain will bottle it, and the next time we get to a semi-final, we'll get through. Score. We're going to do score prediction for Tottenham, and then guys, if you start to put your Q&A for the chat for the last 10 minutes, you can. We'll do a Q&A. So quick fire score prediction. Josh, Tottenham game.
2-1, Wolves.
2-1 to Wolves. Chris?
I'm going to go 2-1 as well. I had it in my head before Josh did it, but yeah, I think 2-1. I think we'll win, but I don't know if you agree, Josh. I'm saying 1 because we always concede, so it's going to be 2-1. But I do believe we'll win.
It's Brennan Johnson as well, and he's bound to score against us.
Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1. I agree with you, mate.
Jack?
3-1 Wolves. Why not?
3-1 Wolves. Can we? Are we going to finish higher than? And leave your questions, guys, now for this Q&A. If you've got any questions, are we going to finish higher than 17th? Do you think it can? Think we're going to do that? Yes or no? What position are we going to finish, Josh?
I'm looking at the league table now. 16th at an absolute push, but I think 17th's more the realistic position, to be fair.
Okay, Chris?
17th, because I think the other teams will pick something up. Although, right now I'm changing mind. Everton are on a terrible run of form. They've been on the beach for a while.
They're drawing a lot, ain't they, Everton?
Yeah, we'll finish 16th. We'll finish above
16th.
Everton.
Jack?
Yeah, I still think 17th, but I think we'll be. I think the gap that we've got now to the bottom three will be bigger by the end of the season.
Yeah. Right then, let's have a look at the questions. There's a good question here from Cheerful Chris, who's on his right account today, his membership account. So thank you for everyone that's a member and all the new members we've got. And thank you if you subscribed tonight. You just found us and subscribed on the YouTube. We appreciate that. Chris wants to know, and it's a very good question, do we get a new number one or backup keeper in the summer? Who wants to answer that one?
I'm going to say no. I think if stable 1 and 2, Sarr and Johnston, if Johnson will stay, which might be questionable, if Johnson will stay, I'll say we leave it as it is. There's other priorities.
Josh and Jack, any quick thoughts on that?
I do think another keeper will be coming because we were touted with one in January, but I can't remember the bloke's name. I think he was playing in France somewhere. My only worry is Johnston. I could be reading him completely wrong. And his demeanour. And Tommy Doyle was sat with him at West Ham, and the way Tommy Doyle walked on the pitch with him, I could be reading it completely wrong.
Well, both of those are probably going to be frustrated they're not getting much game time. So you can understand the frustration, especially if Johnson thought he was going to be number one. Jack, what's your take on that? Because a really good question from Chris.
It is. I think just to reflect what Chris said there, I think there are other priorities in the summer. And I think if we need to invest significantly in other areas of the pitch, then I think Sarr for one more year as number one is probably okay. Yeah. He's never going to be a goalkeeper for a team that's pushing for Europe or any kind of, I don't think. But I think we could probably use the money in other areas of the pitch next summer to really push us on a bit further.
Okay. Go to you first for this one, Josh. And anyone else that wants to chip in. Do you think Pereira will get us into Europe next season? I guess there's caveats with that, isn't there?
So it all depends on the permutations of 7 foot plate, isn't it? Now with the quota that we're getting this summer coming, I can think going under current stats, his record of his points game point ratio at other clubs. I think we're currently at 1.64. Someone put, which if we're at this point in the season, we'd be on 50 points. If it was with us from the start, so you're up there. You're pushing top 10. I do think it's one of them that we're going to have to wait and see what happens in the summer. But on records and paper and stats, we could be up there, top 10, pushing top 8 next season, going on the form that we're currently on.
Jack?
I think, can Vitor get us into Europe? Yes. Will he? I think it's difficult right now. I think it's probably something perhaps the year after that we could look at if we can push on next year and have a better year and then again kick on. So, might be a tall order for next season.
And what's your take on that, Chris?
It's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible. But as the other lads said, and as you said, there's a lot of caveats involved. It depends if we sell and buy in the summer. But have we got a manager that was capable at this point of getting us into Europe next season, giving the right conditions? I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm saying it's possible. And the hope of that is enough for me.
Yeah, nice one. Interesting one here. And I'll go with you first one on this, Chris, because I know you're refereeing and you know the laws really, really well. But Carl wants to know, what football law would you like to bring into the game if you could?
Or to bring into the... Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in a law. I'm going to mention a law that already exists but isn't enforced. Well, but I enforced it when I was refereeing. Players stealing yards and throw-ins. It drives me mad.
Yeah.
And I always used to blow up for it, right? And players are really surprised. It drives me mad, and I wish it is a law, but I'd like to bring its enforcement back into the game.
Interesting. Josh or Jack, any law you'd like to bring in?
I don't know if mine's a law, but it's to do with the AR, and they've been doing it. The way they're doing it in the FA Cup that they've done it, where they talk over the tannoy once they're given the decision. I don't think that's needed because they can show it on the screen. You get it from when he points and does that. like we always have done on decisions. To me, you need to hear, like at the cricket with the umpires in the box and in the rugby when it goes to TMO, you need to hear the conversation going between the referee and VAR.
Jack, you're kind of nodding to that. Is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, transparency, isn't it? You know, I think if we're going to have all this technology involved in decision making, then I think as fans we're stakeholders, so we should be able to have access to that, not an edited version that Howard Webb shows on Sky Sports a month later. It should be there and then. This is the conversation they're having. This is what they're looking at. This is what they've seen. This is the decision that they're coming to. And I think that would stop a lot of the conspiracy theories and a lot of the, you know, this team are getting all the decisions. If it was there and then, it's transparent, it's open. And yeah, I think it would help.
I think the only way that happens, though, and it's down to Liverpool and Man United, is part of the reason. They don't have big screens to show replays in the grounds, and they when the AR first went in, they refused.
It's pathetic. The two of the so-called biggest teams in Europe, we can't do it because they haven't got a screen. That the money that they've got, they can work that out, and they should be shamed. There are teams that can't come into the league because their ground's not up to standard, and we're talking about Liverpool and United. It's ridiculous. It just seems, oh well, it's them, so it don't matter. We can't do it because ridiculous. Good point here from JS96. Forest finished 17th at the end of last season, and now look at them. Also, remember Leicester City at the end of the season before they won the title, they had a momentum and won the league. So there is precedence for teams that have struggled, getting their act together, having a change of manager, that momentum carried on building because of good investment in the summer, and then having a really strong season the following year. So why can't we? 3 minutes for free. Elliot's got a good question for you. Jack, does Cunha come back into the squad for you next week? Now he's available. I'll just put a caveat on that. Does he come back into the starting lineup rather than I think he'll be back in the squad, but does he start?
No.
He's on the bench for you.
Same team for the last 4 games, 10 points. Can you look any of those players in the eye and tell them you're dropping them? No, I don't think so.
Josh?
I think he'll be in the squad. I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking, who would you drop? The only person you drop, because Bellegarde's been playing out his skin. Manetzi off the ball does a lot more work. I know it's different when he's on the ball, but he's been doing a lot more work off the ball than Cunha will, because Cunha usually starts dropping. So I think he's in the squad, but I don't think he starts. Like Jack said, he's played 4 games in a row now, and he's not changed a single thing with the lineup.
Chris, your thoughts on Cunha?
No, absolutely not. No. I'm confident he won't. He'll be on the bench.
Be on the bench. I personally, my personal thoughts is we're unbeaten in the 4 games he's not been. We've played as a team. We've won 3 at the last 3. I don't see how he walks straight into that side. I think he's on the bench and he has to, wait for his chance. Because I agree with how do you tell him? So I think Vitor will start him on the bench. I can't see him signing. We've got a question here from 123 North Street. Not that. Where is it? He wants to know, should Jeff Shee be replaced in the summer? Josh?
They've got. I don't think they will. I really don't think they will, because it's been the same for years now, and they tell us nothing. I think he should be, but they've got to get it right and get the right man in that knows football and football clubs and the business of football. If they move him on to a department like esports, like we mentioned, and they bring someone in as the chairman, fine, as long as they do the right job. I don't think Fosun will, but if they do, I think a lot of people will be happy.
Chris, your thoughts on that?
Same answer. Yes, he should be replaced, but he will not be. It would be great to have some more footballing knowledge on the board, but it's not going to happen. And
Jack, well, you've had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to Jeff. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we need some fresh ideas at the top. I mean, we said earlier, didn't we? It's been a pretty rotten season, and it started really with his comments last summer about, if you want to win competitions, don't support Wolves, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we need someone who's going to come in and just again, like I said earlier, get everyone to puff their chests out a bit and have a bit of pride in our football club. So that would be it for me.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, Jeff is also the chairman of Fosun Sports. He's got a very, very big portfolio, the esports and all that sort of jazz. If he wants to focus on that, I think if we bring another chairman or a CEO or someone in that would take that, all of that sort of stuff would be and they did look at bringing Sky Sun, didn't they, in a few years ago? And then he obviously went back to China. So they had planned succession planning before now. Maybe it will happen. I don't know. I don't think Jeff will go. I think he'll still have a very big profile within the club, but he would be more seeing the umbrella over the overall thing, and he'd have someone come in potentially that would focus on Wolves. And they may well be looking at that. We don't know, because it's not like they haven't looked at doing it before. Jeff stayed on longer than he was planned to in terms of like Wolves, because obviously he's also the chairman of Fosun Sports as well. So he might prefer to focus on the bigger picture and then bring someone in under him as the chairman or CEO. So we're interested to see it on that one. One thing I would say to Mr. Shee, if he is watching, met him a couple of times. He's all been pleasant enough, But one thing I would say, what a great PR exercise it would be, because last year the season tickets went up by 17%, and there was an argy-bargy to get with all of the fan groups, all of the fan channels, alongside the trust and the FA, the Fans Advisory Board, had to battle to get a price guarantee freeze for this year, and also obviously consultation, reduce the foot under 14s, and then consultation on any price increases. And that's backfired, because up until that point, no game ever went to general sale. So putting the prices up has actually probably cost them money. So to me, a PR exercise, which would be going against the grain, and I think would be really well received by the fans, would be a 5% decrease in season tickets. I think you'd get more people buying the seats and coming on for season tickets. You get back to not selling out again. They've obviously got the financial leeway to do a little bit of that. Also invest a bit more in the women's team. But imagine if you did a 5% decrease on season tickets. People spend more money when they're in the ground and stuff there. You don't have to try selling out, going to general sale and having empty seats every game. It works. The model works well in Germany. And another conversation that we should have at some point is about what's the expansion of Molineux. My understanding is there is some work that is planned, though, Jack, on Molineux in the summer.
I think it's just a continuation of the sort of the cosmetic stuff, isn't it? At this point, making sure that everything's kind of spruced up and everything. I don't know anything further in terms of capacity or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? I think it all sort of feeds into kind of our own narrative of the club, doesn't it? So, if we feel like we've been taken advantage of with prices, and we feel like the stadium's not being given any love by the owners, and the academy and the women's team aren't being invested in, then that filters through to our own perception of the direction of the club. So there are lots of things that they could do to kind of, like you said, just get everyone back on side and get people pushing in the right direction.
Absolutely. And the final question that we'll take today, and it is a couple combined one. Should we do everything we can to get Semedo to sign a new contract, and should they go and get Delap from Ipswich? Combined one question, final question. Jack, you're shaking your head.
Semedo, yes. Delap, no.
Josh?
Semedo, yes. I'm going to add a bit more onto that just quickly. Because he's 31 now, and I've loved it when we signed him. Loved watching him play. I know a few people didn't like him to begin with, but he's 31 now. He's at his absolute peak. So I do want him to stay for one more year, but he's going over that top now of peak performance with his age. So that is up for question. Do we need to start looking at someone else that can fill that role until
Pedro Lima's
Lima's a bit older?
Is he ready to play a full season? That's the question.
But then Delap, no.
Chris?
Semedo, no. Delap, no. For many of the reasons that Josh just outlined. We saw Delap. He came up against a decent central defender, and yeah, he did score. But I think that maybe he's not as good as many of us thought he was. Semedo I've loved for the last couple of years, but I think he's getting to that over his peak now, or getting to his peak. And we've got replacements. We've also got Rodrigo, who can play there as well. So I'm going to say no, but based on what he costs in wages.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good point that you make there. I mean, on regard to Delap, he's English centre forward, so he's going to be a premium price.
45 million his buyout is, I think.
He's what?
45 million.
Yeah, forget it.
This is why I think Ipswich might come back, because they're going to get the parachute. They've got the nucleus of a team that fights. They've got a decent manager that have learnt a lot. They'll get a bit of money. That, you know, we see the teams that have gone down this year. They're all in the top three, and last year they're all fighting to come back up. I think Ipswich will be there or thereabouts again. On Semedo, 31, I don't think's old for me. And we have got to have, if we're playing with wing backs, we've got to have a really, really good wing back. And I think Rodrigo Gomes does the job. I think Pedro Lima could be good, but Semedo's got a lot of experience. He's also took on the captaincy, and he has taken on the captaincy role with complete integrity. He goes and talks to the referees. He's handled himself really well. He's been a leader on the pitch. I've been really impressed with him, and the way, you know, he gives everything, and it means a lot. Now, look, he is one of the highest earners, but if we're going to bring in someone with his level of experience, it's going to cost a lot of money. So personally, I'd rather continue paying his wages, get him to sign for another couple of years, and then gradually bed in Pedro Lima and stuff, because otherwise we're going to have to go out and spend possibly 10, 15, 20 million to replace him. So that's why I would say, yeah. The only caveat to that is that obviously Semedo's contract is out. He might want a new challenge. He might go to Saudi and get a lot of money and stuff like that.
He'll go to Benfica with Bruno Lage, I reckon.
Yeah, but they're not willing to pay the money for his wages. That's the thing.
Yeah, true.
But they haven't got to pay. They haven't got. So that's the other thing. But if he might also be looking at this new pack mentality that we've got building under Vitor Pereira and think, do you know what? There's something happening here, and I want to be part of it. So it'll be interesting to see. Sarabia will go because he is the highest earner. Cunha will go, and whatever everyone thinks, it won't be a bidding war. It'll be 62.5 million. If he's got 4 offers on the table, it'll be up to him where he goes. But the fact that he's missed 7 games this season, and he's been, you know, whether or not he's been misrepresented in the press or what he said or not, people will look at that in terms of bringing someone into their dressing room. They will look at personality. And I've met Nick Cunha a couple of times with his family, and but he does have that in him. That's something that will be a consideration. So it'll all come out in the wash. We'll talk a lot more about all of this, of course, over the next few weeks. And then, you know what the summer's like. There's going to be links here, there, and everywhere, rumours flooding around, the rest of it that's going to happen, and we'll have all that uncertainty. But I do feel quite positive with the steps that they've made recently, and I'm hoping that Jeff, that Matt, they've got a plan. That the fact that Chairman Guo came over and then called, just before they bought in all the players, they bought what's his name, the number 2, Mendes. What's his name?
Cardozo.
Cardozo, yeah. He was summoned from Scotland for an emergency meeting, and then everything happened. That maybe, just maybe. But again, we don't want to we've been let down before, so let's hope we're not. But the fans will be watching, we'll be watching, and obviously calling it out. Final thoughts, Chris? Sum things up in a sentence to finish the show.
Relief, thank God for that.
Relief, thank God for that. Josh?
Just a day of yesterday, really. 3 points, good journey, flat tyre, brilliant day.
Brilliant day. Or everything you only want. And Jack, from you?
Yeah.
Are we safe?
Thank you, Vitor. First part of the job done. Now time to kick on.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, mathematically we're not safe, but we pretty much are. Obviously, mathematically we're not, but come on.
Yeah, we are.
We are. And let's hope for a brighter future. It's been a really tough year, 18 months as a Wolves fan, and we can see green shoots that are blossoming, and those shoots need to be nurtured by the board and backed and get behind him. And, you know, if we do that, who knows? So thanks to everyone that's been joining in the chat. Thanks to Creation Wolf for powering the show. Much thanks for all you guys in the comments. You've been very respectful, asking some great questions, having some great debate as well. And big thanks if you've hit that subscribe button on YouTube tonight. Much appreciated. And until the next one, from all of us, always Wolves.
Always.